you're three, right? And so you're right. And so all the letters, and they have to figure out. So the word Israel stands for Yesh Shishim Ribi Osiel Torah. There's 600,000 letters in the Torah. Okay, that's what happens. Okay, but the idea is that all Israel together creates the Torah. It might be a jumble of letters, but God takes them and puts them together and creates, right? And God puts them all together and creates the Torah. Right? Each of us alone, you say, what is this? It's meaningless. Yet you put it together, you create the Torah. And that's what it is with each individual. Now, listen to me carefully. You like Bach better than Beethoven? Is that what we decided? Yeah, okay. So let me ask you a question. Who do you like to perform Bach? Like which performer like plays it that you really like it?
Honestly, I just played on the piano.
Okay, you played on the piano. Okay, yeah.
You mean?
You know which guy? A Pearl with a Pearl. It's a Perlman, right? It's a Perlman is a beautiful violinist.
Who's a good pianist?
Right. Okay. Whoever it is, right?
Whoever, yeah.
Okay. So why do people go and hear the great musicians of our time play the music when you could just as easily just go to YouTube, pick it up, and play it?
It's a good question.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
So let me teach you something about music, my friend.
Everybody has his own style.
Everybody has his own style.
Perform it differently, and you can when you listen to. If you go to YouTube and you take 4 or 5 different versions of the same Brandenburg concerto, they'll all have a different tempo. They'll have different intonation. Everything about it will be different.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. That's what happens. Right. So it's actually quite fascinating. Right. There was a famous conductor who agreed to be interviewed, but he told the guy who was interviewing, he says, "Listen, I have a student that's going to be conducting one of these symphonies in Europe, and I'm going to listen to it on shortwave radio. And so during the interview, we'll have to stop so I could listen to the concert." So it was like a 120-piece orchestra. They sat and they listened to it. They finished listening to it, and the conductor says, the 6th violinist was missing.
Wow.
So the reporter said, okay. He goes home. He calls up the orchestra that played it. And he says, did all 120 people show up for the orchestra? And they said, why are you asking? He said, well, I was listening to it, and I think the 6th violinist was missing. So the person on the other end of the phone says, yeah, actually the 6th violinist, I called in sick, and we couldn't replace her, and so she was not there. Now, I want to let you know, I like music, but I cannot tell you whether it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The one I knew, maybe 2 I would get, not 3, 4, and not number 6. But he's a professional. Each and every one of us are one of those musicians that plays God's songs. And God knows when we're there and when we're not. And God knows how we're playing. And the reason why people go to Itzhak Perlman to hear him play it, because he plays it with his style of who he is. And his neshama, we would call neshama, his soul comes through the song that he's playing. Okay? Now, not only does the song come through what he's playing, okay, not only does that happen, every time he plays it just a little bit different. Each performance is unique, and each performance that he does comes with a different tune, because each song is unique and each person is unique. Okay? Now, because of that, Bentzi. There are the Sephardic piano players and the other Ashkenazi piano players. And then there's the Moroccan ones. And then there's the Tunisian ones. And then there are American ones. And then you have your Texan ones. And each and every one of us, right? Some French ones, right? Don't forget the French, right? Some, right? And there's some.
The Ashkenazi, I believe. If you talk about drums or guitars or whatever, but Sephardi, pianos.
Right? So what happens? So each and every one of us, right? We play music just a little bit different, right? And so when we go to pray, right? We are expressing. We might be reading the same words. But each and every one of us, we're expressing them through our own neshama, through our own soul. And so the music is different for each and every one of us. We are all playing our own instrument, use the same notes. But it's playing through our neshama, through our soul. And how we play it is what God will hear. And we're here to be an orchestra for God. I want to tell you something amazing. It's an amazing thing. There was once a great rabbi who was walking with a student in the forest. And all of a sudden, the student goes and he's walking along, kind of rips off like a leaf off a tree. So the rabbi turns and said, what'd you do? He said, well, I just, ripped off a branch off the tree. Well, what's the big deal? He said, you just took the drums out of God's symphony. The whole universe is playing a song of gratitude to God. And we are so blind, dumb, deaf, we miss it. And if we could hear the whole world playing the orchestra to God, it would be the most incredible sounds you'll ever hear.
Sorry that I need to say again, but the same thing that each one is conducting the things different. Same thing like us. Each one is hearing the music different.
You sure? But God, right? But all the music is in God's orchestra.
But it doesn't mean that we are not hearing it. We're hearing it.
No. If we tune in, right? We've got to make sure we tune in.
Yeah.
Right? Most people don't tune in. Right? That's just what it is.
Or you're bringing somebody to tune something.
Right. Remember, that's a job, right? But to learn, right? But to learn to hear that's really what it's about.
Rabbi, you
Okay. So what's interesting? So Cain is quite unhappy. Okay, Cain is quite unhappy because God didn't listen to him, right? So what does Cain do? No, hold on. What does Cain do?
He was upset.
He's upset. He's angry. Why is he angry? It was his idea. He started the whole thing.
But he didn't get the response
He didn't get the response he wanted. So who does he blame?
His brother.
His brother.
The thunder stealer.
And what does God say to Cain? Don't blame your brother.
Sort of a repeat.
Look in the mirror.
Sure, what?
It's sort of a repeat of what happened earlier when the serpent.
When Adam and Eve, right?
In
Again,
fact, it's the same question.
Wait, how is it?
Where are you? Where is he?
right. Where are you? Right? Why aren't you showing up? Why aren't you doing something? Right? Right? Who's right? Ayaka, where are you? Right? And Adam and Eve are busy passing the buck. Cain sins, and what does Cain do?
He hides too.
He hides too.
Yeah, you're right.
And who's he hiding behind? It's Abel's fault. It's him. And instead of saying it's me, and what do I need to do to correct that?
He says.
Blame shame.
Right.
Shifts the blame.
He shifts the blame.
He's right.
Right? And what does God? And God speaks to him, and what does God say to him?
Time to repent. Look
Right?
at yourself.
The evil inclination is waiting to trip you up. As soon as you show up, he's there waiting for you.
You can overcome it.
Now you can come and we can overcome her. Right? But what do you have to do? You have to recognize that it's your shortcoming, and then you just have to change what you did.
Yeah.
And in fact, by the way, was God angry at Cain?
No.
Right?
Well, he probably wasn't real happy that he, killed his brother. And it wasn't like,
That was before he
No,
killed his brother.
What?
That was before he killed his
it was before. I was
Before he
you're
killed his
right,
brother.
you're right, it's before.
What
You're
did
right,
Cain
you're
need
right.
to do?
You're right.
He needed to say, I did it and repent.
Correct that,
What?
Zion?
Zion, right? Oh no, but Vav. Yeah.
We are talking now
Yeah.
about after the fact.
God tell him to control his behavior, that's all. No?
Right? Right, does it say, right? Surely if you improve yourself, Right.
What I do wrong.
right? If you surely if you improve yourself, you'll be forgiven. But if you do not improve yourself, sin rests at your door. Its desires towards you, you can conquer it. Right? It's sitting there waiting to trip you up.
This conversation was before the Abel's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? It's waiting to trip you up. And all what you have to do is what?
Repent.
Right? If you improve yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
What I
Right.
did wrong.
Right? Meaning, right, acknowledge that that's where it's coming from.
Yeah.
And acknowledge that that's what you have to do.
Conquering desire.
Conquer your desire.
What it's meaning rest at the door?
Oh, so what do you mean rest at the door? Good. The Talmud asked that question. What does it mean that the sin rests at your door?
What is
It's going to
What
come
is
back
that
to
word?
haunt him later.
What's it in Hebrew?
What's it in Hebrew? Yeah.
Okay. La Pesach chatas rovetz. La Pesach to the doorway. Right? Right. Your sin is crouching.
I always thought of that as like your mind or your head, and like the door is like,
Rabbi Epstein, this conversation.
Yeah. What?
I always thought of the house like as your mind. Like your mind is like your house, and your thoughts are like coming in the door.
Right. So it's very interesting. So what?
Metaphor.
No, good, right? That would be the simple explanation, how I understand it as well, right? Right, that it's sitting there, standing there, right, saying that, right? Right, okay.
But why is he? Why
But
does he have to repent? He hasn't killed Abel yet, so.
no, so very good.
Why is he
Because he
being
had.
told he should repent? What is he repenting?
Because the idea of why he brought the offering is wrong. Not only wrong, it's actually disrespectful. I mean, right? If you understand it this way, it's you tell God you need to hear me, like you need to be acknowledged, so I'm acknowledging you.
So the quality of offering was low. What he put together to offer, it was low quality, so to speak.
Yeah,
The offering was low.
Not only low quality. To me, it's
It was a low quality offer.
It's not only low quality.
Offering.
It's
He's doing it for Hashem.
you're doing it for God. God, you need to hear me, so here it is. Like God, I need to stroke your ego, right? You need your ego stroked, so I'm going to show up and stroke your ego.
And Abel did it for himself.
So it wasn't full-hearted.
That was the wrong reason. God doesn't need us, right? Right? God doesn't need us to tell him how wonderful he is. We need to tell God how wonderful he is for me. Right? Understand? Right? And telling God, no, you need it because you need me to stroke your ego. Right? I kind of find that, to me, I mean, it's not a nice thing. You know how insulting it is. And like that's
So he's chastising them because he showed annoyance.
Then because what does Cain do? He's showing annoyance at Cain for what purpose?
Because he was turned down.
Because he was right again, and he's blaming Abel, right? So he's shifting again. What's he doing with the blame?
Blame.
He's shifting the blame instead of
Accepting responsibility.
Yeah.
the responsibility. And so that's what God has to show up and say, you're missing the boat. Right? You follow? Right? That's what it's about.
Yeah, you know.
Right? You understand?
Yeah.
Like, because again, I want to tell you something. Most sin in the world comes because we won't take responsibility. Meaning, you try to do the right thing and you do the wrong thing. That's okay. Right? Even if you try to do the wrong thing and you do the wrong thing, that's life. What's our job then?
Ask the question of what I do wrong, and then you repent.
To repent, to own it, and to say I'm sorry. Right? That's what happens. Right? You understand? And Cain. So where did Cain know what the right thing was, or what sin is, and where to avoid it? And so Adam, right? Adam and Eve were his parents, right? They taught him. Right? It says, right? It's right. It's right there. Right? It's right there. Own it. And instead of owning it, he passed the buck. That's what Cain does. And it's so easy to pass the buck.
It never really worked though. I mean, people might just, and like, if they, a lot of the time, even if you try that, it's not like someone's like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
I want to tell you something. I'll tell you why passing the buck is so terrible. Okay, I'm going to share with you an idea that I actually studied last night with my daughter, or maybe earlier this morning, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. She's doing a project in Missouri Girls High School. She has to, so we had to study together a commentary. She's doing the Tower of Babel. And so they said they want to build a tower because they want to make a name for themselves. They want to make a name for themselves. And so he points out that we are so worried about how everybody else is going to look at us, right? That it's all really more about how we look than what is real. And he quotes a fascinating Gemara. Unreal. I think it's a Mishnah Sanhedrin. I think it's 34b. It says, unbelievable. Listen to this thing. The Talmud says, on the Mishnah really, it says somebody who sins, and they judge that he deserves to die.
Wait.
Somebody sinned, okay?
Right.
And they judge that he deserves to die.
Okay.
They start taking him out to where he's going to be killed. When they are 10 cubits away from where he's going to be killed, they say to him, okay, do tshuva. And you should say, my death should be atonement for all my sins. Why 10 steps? Why 10 cubits before you get there? Because by then you're walking. You're walking to being separated from this world. Like no more. It's all over. So hopefully you'll take it to heart, and you'll do tshuva. Now the Talmud says, but let's ask another case. Let's say the person who's been judged to die knows that it's all a setup, and he really didn't do this sin. What should he say then?
Tshuva for the people that are putting to death.
Yeah, right. Because remember, we put someone to death.
He would say, instead of tshuva for himself, he'd do tshuva for himself. He would maybe pray for the people that wrongfully are putting to death.
So what the Talmud says, Rabbi Yehuda says he should say, my death should be an atonement for everything except for this sin. Right? Okay.
Oh.
I didn't do this sin, therefore this does not atone me for this sin. Okay? Says the rabbis, and we follow the majority opinion. Rabbis say, no. Should not say that. Why? Because then let's say somebody who really did sin. What's he going to do before they right about to throw him off the cliff? My death should be an atonement for all my sins, except for this one. Why?
Because
I want to look good.
Yeah.
Before I go, I want to look good, right? So I'm going to say it's everything except this sin, right? That's what's going to happen.
Okay, I mistake.
That
Okay.
makes sense.
The rabbi said, "Oh no, you can't say except for this sin,
Uh-huh.
because when you get to the edge and you're about to fall off, right? And you're about to fall off, right? So then at that point, you're going to say, my death should atone for everything except this sin that I'm being accused of.
By you
By
did it or not?
no. Even when I did it,
When you did it, so look,
why?
safe.
Because I'm going to want to look good to all the people as I say goodbye to fall to my death,
You didn't
right?
feel guilty by killing
Right?
somebody.
So now, right? That's what the Talmud says. It said, and the Talmud says, and that's the halacha, that's the law, because most people are going to say that.
But
So,
that would just be dishonest anyway.
sure,
Yeah, right.
it'll be dishonest, and says does nine the Torah. It says, listen to this. You know you're leaving this world, right? Right? You're dead.
So what's the point of lying about it?
What's the point of lying? He says, why are you lying? He says, because our ego wants us to be that we're good. I want everyone to think that I'm righteous. So it says it's not Torah. Listen, that's a commentary. He says, listen to what's happening. A person is willing to go to hell
So you look good.
to look good in this world for 10 seconds.
So yeah, the next
No.
year.
You hear that? Let me repeat that, just in case you didn't get it.
Yeah.
A person is willing to go to hell. So he'll look good in this world for 10 seconds.
No.
And the Talmud says everyone's going to do it. Do you understand what type of chokehold our ego has over us? Do you understand how it's going to kill us? And we're willing to forfeit our share in the world to come just so we could look good as we go down? And you understand that? It's like one of the most. I was looking like 1 o'clock in the morning. Amazing!
So what the person should say if he was wrongly accused? And he-
My death should be an atonement for everything that I've done wrong. Period.
Even if it was accused wrongly.
Yeah. Let God sort it out.
Yeah.
Nobody gets put to death by mistake. Doesn't happen.
No, but
Doesn't happen. There's another reason he has to die. We don't know why. It's not for that sin.
I see.
There are no mistakes.
So he should
Every
die.
bullet has an address. Right? That's the bottom line.
So he should have said what he should have said
He said what you say, and that's it.
without anyone.
Right? That's what it's all about. Right? But it's something just how, and that's what God says. God says to Cain. What does he say to Cain? He says, Cain, the evil inclination is standing at the doorway, that as soon as you open it up, he's going to try to trip you up. And you're going to start blaming everybody else except yourself. Right? And as Kenny pointed out, it's just a repeat of Adam and Eve in the garden. We humans are so predictable. It's amazing. We're so predictable. Right? We just show up, this is what happens, and bingo. Right? It's an amazing, amazing thing. Truly amazing. Right? Just truly fascinating. That's our job. Right? You understand?
So we must be ready to die for something we didn't do at all.
Again, if the Jewish court said it and that's what's happening, right, but again, we should fight it. If we didn't do it, we should fight it. But understand that at the end of the day, God is in charge. God runs this world.
Yeah, He will save you.
Right? Right? And so therefore, and so that's what we say to God says to Cain, hello, wake up. Because why is God saying this to Cain? Because who is Cain? Because God knows what's Cain thinking, and what's Cain thinking? I'm going to blame it's Abel's fault, and I'm going to kill him.
Yeah.
And God says, don't do it. He's a prophet. God is talking to him. He says, stop. Don't make that mistake. Right? Crazy thing. Don't make that mistake. And what does Cain do? Right, so we go ahead, right? So verse number 8. Okay, verse number 8. Peter, you want to read?
Sure. Cain spoke with his brother Abel. And it happened when they were in the field that Cain rose up against his brother Abel and killed him.
Right, Cain spoke with his brother Abel. He started to try to talk to him, to try to catch him unsuspectingly, to try to kill him. Right? And he goes out and he kills Abel. Talmud actually says he didn't know how to kill somebody. Right? Nobody ever died before. Right? So he wasn't sure how to kill him. How do you take the blood, right? How do you kill somebody? Right? So what happens?
So Hashem said to Cain, "Where is Abel your brother?" And he said, "I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper?"
Oh. Verse number 9, am I my brother's keeper? Oh my gosh. One of my favorite lines in the entire Torah. Am I my brother's keeper?
Yes, you are.
God, why are you asking me? This has nothing to do with me. It's all about my brother. Am I my brother's keeper? Am I my brother's keeper?
What's the deeper meaning of that? Because it seems like it sounds like really shallow, but I think there's probably some fourth level of spiritual something to that I'm not getting.
No, because what's God's
You know
answer?
what I mean? The fourth level.
Yeah, what is God's answer to him?
Yes.
Yes. That's the part. That's the part you missed. Yeah, guess what, folks? You're your brother's keeper. You're stuck. You can never say, "I am not my brother's keeper." And this question and answer is one of the greatest. This keeps me up at night to no end. It's like the cold clutch grabbing the insides.
Wait, why? Tell me that.
Why? Because God, Cain says to God,
You're responsible.
"What do you want from me? Am I my brother's keeper? Why are you asking me these questions? Well, I don't care where my brother is." Right? That's what Cain says to Abel. That's what Cain says to God. And what is God's? And what is God's?
This is something before 4,000 years.
Yeah.
And during all these years, all these killers, all the people who killed someone, if you tell him why you killed him, he will, all the histories say, I didn't kill him. You know, it's something that repeats all the time.
Yeah, all the time. I told you the Torah is, people think it's a book, it's not a book of religion. Right? Book of religion means that what man writes to understand God. And the Torah is a book of anthropology. It's a story of how God, it's God's study of man. Right? It all repeats over and over and over and over.
So they are really convinced that they've not killed.
Yeah. This is the same. This is all right. This is all to say. You read through the Torah. There's nothing, as King Solomon says.
Nothing new under the sun.
Ein chadash tachat hashemesh. There's nothing new underneath the sun. Same greed that people have, the same ego, right? All that stuff is the same thing. All driving us, all pushing us into this ridiculous thing of doing these ridiculous things.
God must be bored.
What is
Yeah, I mean, like,
Rabbi,
Yeah.
this one was written by whom it was written. You believe in your way.
I know
believe
my
in
way. Yeah.
But the debate, the frustrations between us and God is through all the history. You understand?
Yeah. It's all the same.
I asked a friend of mine if he asked me if I fast on Yom Kippur. Last Yom Kippur, I said, yes. You fast? I asked him a speech. So she's a woman. She asked me, no, I didn't fast. I'm annoyed of him. All the time we have a debate.
So what happened if Cain would have repented after what he's done to Abel?
So
How the history will go?
be different. Totally different.
So Cain would be forgiven by God?
Sure. Cain was forgiven. It's a fascinating. We learned a lot about tshuva,
It was fun.
right? Because Cain does tshuva at the end.
He does.
Well, right, and even if the God clobbers him on the head,
He's forgiven after that?
and we will see. Yeah, God lets him live another 77 years,
He's still a
another 7 generations. right? So he lives another 7 generations.
So how long he lived altogether, Cain?
What?
Frank,
What's him? What?
How old was the Cain before he passed away?
He lived another 7 generations.
7 generations. So he did tshuva and he was forgiven.
He was getting the 7 generations. But let's just
Was
go.
he given the 7 generations because he was forgiven, or
Oh,
was he given as punishment?
Okay, no. Okay, we'll come to that. We're not up to that yet. Okay, but let's just go back for a second, because this idea of am I my brother's keeper
But
is something that is so keep me up at night, but it's so far-reaching.
But even the way it's worded, where is Abel your brother?
Right.
I mean, clearly that's a redundancy, because he knows Abel's his brother, so God's saying to him,
Right.
"Hey, look, you've got responsibility."
Right, he's your brother, and so then everybody says, I don't know, what do you want from me? And so what does God say? Right, you write the voice of Abel. Right, let's just read this. Right, verse number 10. Go ahead.
Then he said, "What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Therefore you are cursed more than the ground, which opened wide its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you work the ground, it shall no longer yield its strength to you. You shall become a vagrant and a wanderer on earth."
Okay, stop here for a second. Right. So let's just look at this. So God says to Cain. So where's Abel today? You know, I don't see him around. You know,
And yet God knows.
yeah, right. And so what's God doing?
He's testing.
Same thing with Adam, right?
Right,
What's
you
going
being
on here? Yeah. Did anyone happen to eat from the tree that I told you not to eat from? And what does Cain say? No, am I supposed to? Do I have to keep tabs on my brother? Like, do I have to know what he's doing?
Right.
Right? And you understand? Right? That's what. And what does God answer to Cain? Absolutely.
Yes, you are.
Right? You are absolutely required. So let me ask you a question. We live in a world where a lot of our brethren are not here. They're not here.
Oh, okay.
They're not learning Torah. Right? They know Torah. They know no Torah. They aren't involved in Judaism. There's 6 million Jews. By 2040, there's supposed to be 2.2 million Jews left. If God was to come and to ask us, where are our brothers and sisters? What would we answer to God?
I'm on my way.
And I'll tell you, don't say am I my brother's keeper. That didn't get Cain too well. Didn't work for Cain.
What I mean is that's how we're behaving if we don't try to bring everybody back.
The most common answer is, I have my own problems.
Right.
That's all I care.
Correct. That's exactly what it is. I agree with you 100%.
There's a lot of people that don't come back, I think, or leave, are because, like, they're getting a lot of stuff out of this world. You know, I mean, they're into, like evil pays in this world in a lot of ways. You know, I mean, doing the wrong thing, like you get rewarded in the short term a lot of the time. Like, you know,
It looks like that.
I mean, like Hollywood,
Yeah.
stock
Right.
market.
Right. Yeah, no. So a lot. Okay, I give you that.
I mean, really?
So,
Like,
but
if
but
I hear one more thing, people say they complain about anti-Semitism, but it's like, good gosh, every single person in Hollywood that's making this crap is Jewish. Like, what the hell? Like, you
Right.
gotta do something. For what
No,
you
so
can't go to them because they're already successful.
Okay, so good. So let's take a step back.
I'm sorry, I had to say that.
Okay.
Okay, I finally
That's
got
okay.
it.
Good. Okay. Feel better?
I'm sorry.
Alrighty. Alright, so now hold on.
You didn't want it.
So now, if God was to show up, standing there, and God was to say, "Where are your brothers?" What would we answer?
Who are you?
Frank, you keep on asking the wrong questions.
Enjoying this
No,
world?
I'm just.
Right? But again, correct, they are enjoying this world. They'll think they're enjoying this world. Or maybe yes, enjoying, maybe not enjoying this world. Or I'm not sure, or they're just whatever. But what is our responsibility?
Bring them back.
To bring them back.
But you can't force them back.
Yeah, it's
That's
kind of
it.
like if they have all
If
the
it's not
stuff.
working.
Like how
Right. Okay, good. Okay, I'm with you.
Well,
We can't-
sometimes they're not being brought back and they've never been there.
Right.
So-
Okay.
But the problem,
you're right.
the problem with that is, I'm setting myself up as if I'm better, and I'm telling somebody else what they should do because I'm doing it.
Okay.
So I'm being judgmental in a way.
Okay, so very good. So let me help you out with your judgmental piece.
Yeah, please do.
They're probably better off than you were. I'll explain to you why. Explain to you why.
No conscience.
No. I'll explain to you why. No. Me. Take me for an example. So am I doing more than they are?
Yeah.
Sure. But God's going to say, sure, Epstein, I made it easy for you. You grew up, your family was religious, you had a lovely family, you had it easy, right? No big deal for you to stay where you are, right? Okay, so I'll grade you, and now let me ask another question. Based on what I gave you and everything you had, are you really doing everything you should be doing? Or could you be doing something more, but you just haven't? Right? That's what God is going to ask. So I have absolutely no clue who in this room God ranks as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And neither do I have no clue. I want to tell you a little hint. You also don't have a clue.
You what?
You also don't have a clue. Even Frankie doesn't know. Okay?
No.
All right, no, yeah.
Who am I?
Yeah.
Come on, I don't know.
Right? Why? Because each and every one in this room was born with certain positive things, certain negative things, right? And it was certain circumstance, in certain places, right? And it could be, for somebody even just to show up here is the hardest thing in the world. And just by them showing up is just so incredible, right? That they get, number one slot. Another person, right? That all grades and all levels and all things. We are running the race against nobody. There's only one thing I can tell you. Only one thing I can tell you. If you do one more mitzvah than you're doing now, you will get a better spot. You created a greater relationship with God. If you do one less thing, taking you away. That's the only thing I know. I have no idea who's greater and who's not. Because our job is not to be greater. Because our job is not to be greater than or less than our next door, the person next door. My job is to be greater than myself. And my job is to be greater today than I was yesterday. And tomorrow, my job is to be greater than I am today. Every day, we wake up, we ask God, give me the strength to become great, to achieve greatness today. And it's irrelevant to anybody else. You can never measure yourself against anybody else.
Well, I think pain. I guess what I was trying to say is pain's a great motivator for me, right?
Most people, by the way.
I didn't get here because I thought, I think I'm gonna just go back to Judaism and follow the Torah for once, all that, it was honestly, it was I had to be beaten to submission. Go, okay, well, I've been fast. Yeah, I don't want to take any more. And that's my thing.
Right.
Pain's great for me. I believe that most most people are the same way. Like, you know,
Probably.
like, I don't know, but sometimes maybe I'm
Rabbi
mostly-
Robkin told me it's like it's commonly known that pain is a much greater motivator than pleasure. So what he did was, he said he went on a diet, and what he did was, he said, not if I keep a week of dieting, I'll get, an ice pop or something like that. He says, if I don't keep a week, okay, he found the most obnoxious 501c3 that he can think of, or group that he can think of, and he said, I'll have to donate $10 to that group.
Oh my gosh.
So he said, and that was motivating him to stay on it. He said, because to write that check would be so painful, he couldn't imagine it. So therefore, that's what he was going to do. He says, because that's really in the world we live in. You see, I'll tell you something.
The rich people, they never get pain, so they'll never come back. So like people that are
No,
successful.
no. Okay, hold on. So let me listen to this carefully.
And then you can buy and sell happiness here.
Listen to it. Listen to this. This is an amazing idea. Amazing idea. We live in a world where most people are running away from pain. They just don't want to hurt. We've forgotten that this world has so much pleasure to offer us. And that if we live properly, we can achieve the greatest pleasures in the world. Moses just don't hurt me. All right? That's how. Right? So we're not living. We're really dying, but we're dying slowly. Just don't let me die like being hurt. And that's how most of the world lives. Right? It's the avoidance of pain, not the pursuit of pleasure. Life should be the most pleasurable experience we have. The problem is what we think is pleasure, or we think is pleasurable, is not really pleasurable. It's fleeting. It lasts for how long? I don't know about you guys, but I can imagine, you probably understand this.
Yeah.
I've gone on a diet or two in my lifetime. I'm not sure it looks like it, but I've been on a diet or two in my lifetime.
Painful.
What?
Painful.
And I happen to be like my Achilles heel in dieting is like gooey custard. Okay, custard. Like that's the piece that, like chocolate cake. No, gooey custard is what gets me all the time. Okay, right? Okay, like whipped cream, like that. Those are the things that that they talk to me. I hear them whispering. They say, Bentzi, come. I hear them. It's amazing. And yet, I know, without a doubt in my mind, that how long is that pleasure going to last me?
A minute and a half, seconds.
You said a minute and a half, not a minute and a half, way long. Seconds? It's not even seconds. Right? Because it's how long does it take the custard to go on my tongue, right? From here to the back of my tongue before it's no longer pleasurable, right? And by the way, you only taste sweet right on one part of your tongue. Right? And I eat pretty quickly. You can finish a cup of custard in probably like 20 seconds, you know what I'm saying? Right? And yet I know it's going to put on the pleasurable pounds that I'm trying to get off. And I'm willing to do it for pleasure of fleeting moments. And we're like, really, almost all pleasures are like that. I tell you pleasures that are long lasting. Relationship with God, doing a mitzvah, right? Those are pleasures that they seem tough at the beginning, right? But you sit there and you do them and they feel good. And they'll feel good when you're done. You've done the right thing, right? And the longer lasting pleasures. And yet, you're right. Somehow it takes us a very long time, right, to figure out, right, how to get those pleasures.
But if they're having a great, I guess what I'm saying is like people, there's a certain percentage of our community that, of Jews in general, they're very successwe're. They go to school, we're very
Right.
highly educated, smart community.
Right.
It's not like they're gonna get out, like go into the, they have the, the trophy wife and the big house and the they're not gonna go. I'm gonna go ahead and study Torah.
Okay, so I want
it's hard to recruit that percentage of the population.
Okay, so hold on.
All of them.
Right, okay, good.
It's easier to recruit someone like me.
No.
Than someone like
Okay. So hold on.
I'm here.
Okay, so no. So let me tell you something. It could be the other way around because it will tell you something fascinating. I happen to study with a lot of those people. I do. And, they have the millions, the jillions, live in the, McMansions, and, they're not the McMansions, live in the mansions, right? And they don't have trophy wife, they have the trophy husband, trophy wife, and trophy kids, whatever it is, right? All it's about. So they tell me, Rabbi, it's easy. We're the easy people. Because we have what the world considers pleasurable, and we know it's really nothing.
Oh.
The people that don't have it, so they're busy chasing the dream. Because they keep thinking the dream is what's going to make them happy. We know that that's not true. So if we're easier targets than the other people.
See, I thought it would be the opposite.
I know, I'm telling you. It's always green on the other side.
See, that's what, I'm held responsible for not recruiting.
No. So the answer is like this.
Up here,
Right, so the answer is start small. Start small. Right? There's the people who, each of us have our sphere of influence. Right? We each have our sphere of influence, right? And we have our 5, 10, 15, 1, 2, 5, right, people who we do come in contact to, right? And who at that point in time, right, we are able on some level, right, to reach out. And I'll tell you something fascinating. When Cain says to God, "Am I my brother's keeper?" And God says, "Yes," a resounding "Yes, you are." Right? So let's say, and I'll come back to our case, you try to say, "Okay, why don't you come learn Torah?" And you really try. Have you fulfilled your obligation?
Yes.
Yes. You see, obligation is not results. Obligation is to try. We have to recognize that we are our brother's keeper. We have to recognize that we go ahead and that we do, right? We are our brother's keeper.
So if you try and did not succeed, you still do.
Okay, so try somebody else, right? But as long as you try and give it a good shot, because I'll tell you a story. There was once a person who owned a nursing home, 1,000-bed nursing home. 997 of his patients weren't Jewish. 3 of them were. 3 of them were. So he went to the rabbi, and he says, "Am I allowed to feed my kosher patients?" Right, I'm feeding non-kosher to the 997. I have 3 that are kosher. Do I have to feed them kosher food? Or can I feed them with everybody else? So the rabbi says, "No, you got to feed them like everybody else. You have to feed them kosher, right? You cannot feed them like everybody else." The guy says, "Okay." He comes back to the rabbi. A few months later, and says, "Rabbi, I'm having a problem." He says, "What's the problem?" He says, "I'm ordering in 3 kosher meals a day per person. And there's one lady, one of the Jewish ladies says, I don't want to eat this stuff. I want to eat, what everyone else is having." He says, and he says, and I explained to her that her meal is costing 20 times what all the other meals are costing, right? And she should be happy with what she has. And she won't listen to me. And she's threatening to report me to the whatever, right?
Right.
He says, "Can I feed her? I'll give her the kosher food, but I'll put also the non-kosher food there as well." So the rabbi says, "No, you're not allowed to." He says, you're going to have to feed everybody kosher." He says, "Rabbi, it's going to cost me a fortune." Right? I'm going to have to buy kosher meats instead of like the treif chicken, for 29 cents a pound. I'm going to have to buy the kosher chicken for for $2 a pound. That's what it says. The rabbi says, I hear your dilemma. You can't feed a Jew non-kosher. Good luck. And he does, so before he says to the guy, he said, did you try explaining to her, like, it's kosher, you're Jewish, you be keeping kosher, you're in a nursing home, you don't got too long to live, you know. right. Like, come on, get with the program. Right, last call. Like, okay, come, let's do this. Right, let's do this, right? He said, it hasn't worked. And so I said, he says, okay, he says, you can't, you're a non-kosher. That's it. He doesn't hear any more from this person. A few months later, he's at a wedding, and he bumps into the owner. So he says, he says, tell me. He says, what's happening? You came in and I didn't hear from you anymore. He said, well, Rabbi, good news. I solved the problem. He said, yeah, what did you do? He said, I convinced her to become religious. So the rabbi said, wow, that's impressive. He said, how did you do it? He said, Rabbi, I had no choice. I had no choice, so that was it. Because I couldn't afford the rest. So I had no choice. I had to make her religious. I had no choice. So when you say, right, you invite somebody, right, and we're okay, right? Man says we're okay. But we have to understand, right? Did we really try? And that's what keeps me up at night. Did I really do everything I could to reach everybody? Right? That's the piece. Whenever I learn this story, Getting Neighbor, right, chapter 4, that's always the feeling I walk away with. I walk away with is, I sure darn are my brother's keeper, right? And have we done what we need to do? Right? That's really what it's about.
So that is keeping with in later on where it says, love your neighbor like yourself.
Right.
It's the same vein.
Yeah, yes and no, because that's talking about love your neighbor like love your fellow Jew like yourself.
Yeah.
Right. That's talking about the Jews that want to keep Torah. Here we're talking about the people that even then aren't on that same program. Right. And what's our responsibility to them? By the way, through no fault of their own. Right. Somebody who grew up in secular environment. Right. Grew up on some place where they they're eating pig on Yom Kippur, right? It happens, right? Like it's right. It's right. Like at that point in time, right? So it goes at that right. It's a right. I get it. I understand it, right? I get it loud and clear.
So every Jew has a spark within.
Right.
It just needs to
be lit. Right, we just have to figure out the way that we'll talk to them. Right, you know what I'm saying? And that's figuring that out and understanding where that comes from and how to make that happen. That's what it's all about. Right? You're following me? That's really how it is. Man, and really and figuring it out and getting it.
What is the Haftarah portion associated with this parsha?
With Bereishis?
Yeah.
My Bereishis.
I remember I read it, but I can, it make it really clear, and also happy about it, but I couldn't remember. It was like that.
Isaiah 42. 5 to Isaiah 43:10.
Okay.
Okay, so the voice of your brother is crying out to me from the ground, right? Right, so what do we say here? Right, verse, right, so you, right, okay. The voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Therefore you are cursed more than the ground which opened wide its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you work the ground, it shall no longer give the strength to you. You become a vagrant and a wanderer on earth. Right? Amazing, right? Because he spilled the blood. Right, Cain was bleeding. Abel was bleeding all over the place. Right, and then the ground didn't want to take in Abel's body, and Cain had to convince the ground to open up the earth and to swallow its body. Right, so verse number 13. Okay.
So
Or
That was the first death,
the first death, yeah, first murder.
and it was murder.
Murder, yeah. Yeah. Well, actually, okay, it's really the first death, yes and no. Because what was the first death? When Adam and Eve ate from the garden, right? When Eve ate from the tree of life, she lost eternal life. Both, and then she ate first, but then he ate, right? So they lost eternal life. So that really is death. Now it was a slow death. Right? They lived for another 930 years, right? Right, but every time on, it's right. It's the death. Okay, verse number 13. Orly, you want to read? Joyce, you had a question?
Well, I was just wondering, it says he became a vagrant and a wanderer of the earth.
You shall become.
Does that make him the original gypsy?
And it's a very interesting, or nomad.
Or no?
Right? You're going to have to be
Yeah.
wandering, right? Because let's see, so what happens? So verse number 13.
Can say to Hashem, is my
Iniquity.
iniquity too great to be borne? Behold, you have banished me this day from the face of the earth. Can I be hidden from your presence? I must become a vagrant and wandered on earth. Whoever meets me will kill me.
Right? He said, you're kicking me out, you make me wander. He says, I'm going to, right, whoever meets me is going to kill me. Right? This, right? So God, you're really killing me right now. Right? This is not good. Right? And again, right, so whoever meets me is going to kill me. Right? Why does he think whoever meets me is going to kill me?
They're all his family members, aren't they? How does that work?
Right, okay. No, so it also means animals. He said because at that point in time,
animals too, okay.
right, after he murdered Abel, right, so he lost some of that human, right, that human, the holiness of being a human being. Right, and what happened? And so now he was, right, he's gone. Right? Okay, verse number 15.
Hashem said to him, therefore, whoever slays Cain before 7 generations have passed, he will be punished. And Hashem placed a mark upon Cain so that no that meet him might kill him.
Oh, so what happens? So what does God do? He gives him a reprieve. Right? He accepts his tshuva. Right? And what does he say? You'll live for 7 generations. Right? You'll live for 7 generations. That's how long you're going to live for. 7 generations. Okay? And so then he places the mark, right, on Cain. Right? He takes one of his letters from his name, right, and he put it on his forehead. And so this way God with it.
So what it become the name now?
What?
He took one of what? What did you say? You just said something.
Yeah, God took one of the letters of his name and put it on his forehead. And I'm trying to remember which letter it was.
Yeah,
okay.
That's right.
Right, okay. I'll have to look it up.
Loser.
What?
Loser.
And loser. Right, okay, we got the L. Alrighty. Go ahead. In verse 16.
Cain left the presence of Hashem and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden.
So what happened? He moved on. Right? He went. Right? He started wandering around. Right? That was. He became a wanderer. Right? The land. Right? The ground no longer yielded strength to him. Right? Because what was Cain? Cain was a farmer. Right? So what does God say now?
You're gonna have to work harder.
You're gonna have to work harder now, right? You're gonna have to sort of be, right? You can't farm so much, right? Right? When you work the ground, it should no longer yield its strength to you. Right? It means you're gonna have to wander around. Now, why do you have to wander around? What happens? What's the law? Somebody who kills somebody by accident.
Or fugitive.
Then they go to like they have to go to those places.
City of refuge. Excellent. City of refuge. Why did you go to the city of refuge?
That
I
nobody
want
will
to
do.
protect
You have to leave the place that you are in. Right? Part of the tshuva process is the wandering process.
Oh, I thought it was
Right.
to protect you from like I.
Well, that too, because God says if you go there, then
Yeah,
the,
yeah,
then
it's
the,
like-
then the,
it's
then the
like
redeemer of the
shit
blood can't kill you, right? But the idea is because when you go into exile, right? When you go to become a wanderer, right? At that point in time, right? At that point in time, right? At that point in time, right? That will be part of your tshuva, right? That'll be part of the tshuva that you need to do. And so that's what happened. The cane goes off. Okay. I have such an awesome idea to share with you.
Bring it on, Rabbi.
Kenny, you keep everybody a few minutes, like it's gonna be.
No one's gonna say no.
Okay, no. If you gotta leave, you gotta leave. We're already a little over time. Okay, listen to the most amazing idea. Oh man. Oh! Listen up, folks. Why did Abel have to die?
Because he thought he is nothing.
He thought he's nothing, right? He was, I'm nothing. And why does Cain live? That is everything. Now listen to me carefully. Carefully. Who here is familiar with the story of Korach?
Yeah.
Okay, later on in Numbers, Korach is a man who challenges Moses.
Right.
And says, Moses, you appointed Aaron to be the high priest. I should really be the high priest. We're all holy. What do we need, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And what does Moses say? Moses gets angry at Korach. And what does he say? He says, go, right? He says, go grab a fire pan. If you think you're Cohen, go grab a fire pan. You and your 250 people. We'll have Aaron have one, and then we'll see who God will choose. And if you die, if all 250 you just have an aneurysm, you all drop dead at the same time, doesn't prove anything. Right? Instead, the earth has to come and open up its mouth and swallow you. Quite interesting. Like, why is that the punishment that Korach has to happen? Listen to this. Abel gets reincarnated. And who is the reincarnation of Abel? Moses.
Oh my gosh.
Why Moses? Because Moses was the most humble man to walk on the face of the earth. Abel thought he was nothing.
Oh, it's just the improved.
The improved version of humility is Moses being the most humble person to walk the face of the earth. Moses aced the test. Who is the reincarnation of Cain? Korach.
This time he wins.
So Cain kills Abel over here. But when they get recreated later on in the Torah, and you have now Korach being the reincarnation of Cain, and you have Moses being the reincarnation of Abel, and they're having the same fight. Cain says, I'm everything, we're all holy. I should be the high priest. That's you hear Cain talking?
Oh, it's like the
And what does Moses say? The earth that swallowed me up last time is going to come back and swallow you up.
Because you're right, the earth swallowed up Abel.
And the earth, and that's why Korach has to die by being swallowed up by the dirt, by the mouth of the earth. Because the mouth of the earth over here took in Abel's body, and now, when in the proper context, many generations later on, Moses goes ahead and settles the dispute with Korach. And where is Korach today?
In Washington.
Yes, he is.
No. Okay. Well, the Torah says that Korach today is sitting in the bowels of hell.
Still unrepentant.
Still today.
Still unrepentant.
He didn't have he unrepentant. He knows the truth now, but it's too late.
He stopped.
He didn't do tshuva when he had a chance.
So now it's too late for him.
So now it's too late. And he's sitting and he's saying, Moshe is true, and the Torah is true,
So,
and me and my people are liars. And
You
that's
are
the
what? Liars?
liars. And that, my friends, is the epilogue to the story of Cain and Abel in chapter 4.
That is so fascinating.
fantastic. Just
Okay, folks. Everyone have a wonderful evening. We'll see you all same bat time, same bat station.
this is a surprise.